Well, folks, whatever is left of the Republican Party is an absolute shambles. Now is not a good time to be a Republican because the Donald Trump trial is starting to get underway. We're seeing his stock drop in Truth Social. They're still wanting to oust Mike Johnson. They're just a party in complete shambles, and they're in an election year, a time when they need to be appealing to independent and moderate voters. They're not doing that at all. It's just falling apart, and it's really weird to sit back and watch it happen this way because you would think they would try to pull themselves together and rein it in at least till the election, but no, it's just coming unglued. And my good buddy D Knight is back to talk more about it with us, so take it away, D.
Hey, this is D Knight from the Pardon the Insurrection podcast, joining you from Nashville, Tennessee, courtesy of none other than California Brando. He is currently out on the West Coast. He is now one of the coastal elites. He has outgrown us fellow Southerners, but that's okay. We still love him. And if you love him as much as I do, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's help him get to 200,000 followers. And we're now entering day two of the trial of the century as Trump is facing criminal charges for his role in falsifying business documents in order to cover up illegal hush money payments to a porn star in order to save his electoral chances during the 2016 election. Also, the Republican Party is currently in disarray as per the usual. They're threatening to oust their Speaker of the House.
There's only one person right now who can stop us from going into what happened last fall, and that's Mike Johnson. He's cleaning the barn, that's obvious.
You want him to resign? You want him to resign?
Yes. Yeah, I asked him to resign.
What did he say?
He said he would not. And then I said, well, you're the one who's going to put us into this. Because the motion is going to get called, okay? Does anybody doubt that? The motion will get called, and then he's going to lose more votes than Kevin McCarthy. And I have told him this in private, like weeks ago.
Yet again, which would make for House Speaker number 3 if they were successful, which, again, it's just a hilarious thing to decide to do in an election year. Also, the stock for the Trump Media and Technology Group is diving straight into the dumpster. It's now down to, I believe, $22 per share. That's a horrifying number for Trump, I would imagine, probably keeping him up at night knowing he's no longer going to be a billionaire. Shame on that guy for trying to pass off this worthless company as something valuable in the first place, I would imagine. And also, the Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments on a case that could affect the outcomes of a number of January 6 prosecutions based on the charges of obstructing an official proceeding. No idea how that's going to turn out, but obviously Clarence Thomas is going to do whatever he can to cover for his wife, who's an unindicted co-conspirator in the plot to overturn the 2020 election. Someone should probably do something about that. Maybe send a subpoena her way, force this guy to recuse himself. But alas, I'm not in control of those decisions. I just make videos on YouTube and do a podcast. But there were a number of developments in the Trump trial today, as the judge has now seated 7 jurors. So this thing is moving along rather fast at this point. Speeding up the timeline, I believe now we could expect to see a full jury seated by the end of the week, possibly no later than Monday or Tuesday, if things keep moving along at this pace. And of course, Donald Trump himself had quite a few remarks about the judge and the trial as he spoke to the press this morning right outside of the courtroom.
Thank you very much. This is a trial that should have never been brought. It's a trial that is being looked upon, looked at all over the world. They're looking at it and analyzing it. Every legal pundit, every legal scholar said this trial is a disgrace. We have a Trump-hating judge. We have a judge who shouldn't be on this case. He's totally conflicted. But this is a trial that should never happen. It should have been thrown out a long time ago. If you look at Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, all great legal scholars, there's not one that we've been able to find that said this should be a trial.
Well, that is completely untrue, as a number of legal experts thought that charges should be brought in this case, if not much sooner, including Trump's own DOJ when he was president of the United States, who charged Michael Cohen for his role in this particular set of crimes. And of course, Trump continued on, showing everyone why it's a total necessity for the right to remain silent.
I was paying a lawyer and marked it down as a legal expense. Some accountant, I didn't know, marked it down as a legal expense. That's exactly what it was. And you've been indicted over that? I should be right now in Pennsylvania, in Florida, in many other states, North Carolina, Georgia, campaigning. This is all coming from the Biden White House because the guy can't put two sentences together. He can't campaign. They're using this in order to try and win an election, and it's not working that way. It's working the opposite way. So check that out. Legal expense. It's called legal expense. That's what you're supposed to call it. Mr. Trump, to get indicted on that, nobody's ever seen it. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. So thank you very much for coming. I'm now going to sit down for many hours. I am now going to sit down. The voters understand it. All you have to do is look at the polls. This is a sham trial, and the judge should recuse himself because it's totally conflicted. Thank you very much.
Oof. That was an unfortunate admission by Trump that can likely be used against him in his criminal trial. He's clearly never heard the idea of the right to remain silent because anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. Yes, making an unfortunate admission about your direct role and knowledge of the hush money scheme and signing the payments. Not a genius idea there, buddy, considering we have Michael Cohen on tape with Donald Trump, where Trump is being explained to how to set up the shell company in order to make sure the hush money payments do not become public.
And I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with
So what are we going to pay?
funding. Yes. And it's all the stuff, because, you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be.
Gets hit by it.
Correct. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be.
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
I'll pay the cash.
No. I got no.
All right, Lanny Davis is counsel to Michael Cohen, and he joins us now. Counselor, thank you for joining us. You provided this recorded. Why?
Because everybody heard just now Donald Trump say the word cash, after Michael Cohen mentioned financing.
Okay, well, that's open and shut. I hope we don't spend the next 6 to 8 weeks bored out of our minds waiting for the inevitable conclusion. I wonder how Trump's feeling about his chances.
One more note I want to say, and it's more of Trump's demeanor inside the courtroom so far today. His eyes are closed. He is leaning to the left a little bit, quiet, his arms crossed as well. That's what we're getting from inside the courtroom. Lisa Rubin giving us some of those notes.
Don Snorleone strikes again. But he did, however, stay awake long enough to mutter something in the direction of a juror, to which Judge Merchan took offense and scolded Trump's lawyers, saying to basically keep a hold of their client because he ain't going to have no witness or no jury intimidation going on in his courtroom. Trump's not pleased with that. But let's hear from former Trump lawyer, can't believe he ever hired her in the first place, former Trump lawyer Alina Habba on Donald Trump's prospective chances given the jury selection process.
Sure. Thank you. I think that we're seeing a painful, unfortunately, selection because we're in the state of New York, which is definitely by design. There is no question that Bragg bringing this in New York, look at the Fulton County DA and so on and so forth, Washington, D.C. These venues are selected exactly for this reason, Martha, so that they have a blue state with a blue pool.
Maybe she should stick to representing parking garages, because here's what Alina Habba was saying on day one of the trial about the jury selection process.
The truth is these jurors are human beings. They have biases. And what was troubling in this case is that while we're doing jury selection starting today, one of the things that the judge here, Judge Merchan, would not allow us to ask was whether or not they voted for a Republican or a Democrat, whether or not they voted for President Trump, whether or not they work for the Biden administration. There's people that when I was doing the jury selection in the Carroll case, were working currently for the Biden campaign. And I didn't want those people sitting on a jury for President Trump. I had arguments with the judge about it and saying, I wanted this person out, and I got them off the jury pool, but it was tough. The judge said, well, if you, I will never forget it. If you'd have it your way, you'd have all Republicans. I said, well, if I'm his lawyer, of course.
Well, now you see why Trump lost $500 million in civil judgments here recently. But let's get more legal insights from parking meter attorney Alina Habba.
Sure, thank you. I think that we're seeing a painful, unfortunately, selection because we're in the state of New York, which is definitely by design. There is no question that Bragg bringing this in New York, look at the Fulton County DA and so on and so forth, Washington, D.C. These venues are selected exactly for this reason, Martha, so that they have a blue state with a blue pool. There's only
Actually, that venue was chosen because that's the jurisdiction where the crimes were committed, also the place where Trump lived a majority of his life. But let's get to Alina Habba on Donald Trump's sleeping habits.
Have a second, but there's two reports both days of him falling asleep in court. Any reaction to that? Is he tired? Has he just been running around a lot, or any thoughts on that?
If anything, he's probably brutally bored. I mean, it's painful. They make him sit there through jury selection. The first day was procedural, but no, I've heard that report. It's unlikely. I know him. I sat through trial after trial with him. That never happens.
Well,
so President Trump is incredibly focused.
I'm sure Alina Habba is used to Trump sleeping afterward and not during, but after the day's proceedings, Trump revealed how he is going to prepare for day 3 of the criminal trial.
Going to a bodega. You know about that, right?
Well, he's had a stressful week. Maybe that's where he believes he can get him a bag of weed.
Never been a judge so conflicted as this. It's ridiculous. And also, there's no crime. You know where the crime is? In the bodegas, where they come and rob them every week.
That is Trump saying perhaps the most self-aware thing he's ever said in his entire life, that the bodega is where the crimes happen, as he himself is standing in front of the bodega. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like, you can find me on my personal podcast, Pardon the Insurrection, now available on YouTube and everywhere that podcasts are found.
And folks, I'm going to tag D Knight's page in the description of this video. It is Pardon the Insurrection Podcast. Be sure to go over there and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you always know when D Knight is going to be bringing the truth.